Hey there, welcome to another very special episode of the Lemon Amiga Reviews, and this one we'll be reviewing a number of rip-off games. And I've recorded over 100 of these games and trimmed those down to maybe 80 to bring you the very bottom of the barrel as far as rip-offs go. And I'm not just talking about ripping off the style of the game or the music or a character. Sometimes the developers ripped off a game wholesale, and so this will be a bit of a quiz just to see if you can figure out which games these games are trying to rip off. So sit back and hold tight, because this is going to be a multi-part series of episodes. Let's begin our countdown and let's alphabetize these in A to Z. You can see that the very first game is Aardvarks, which steals some things from the Terminator movies and like the fonts. And let's see if you can guess what type of game this is. This is Aardvarks, and well, let's play it and find out. Most of the games that we'll be reviewing in this series will be public domain efforts, and this one was created in Amos, and no prizes for guessing that this was based on the Lemmings series, so this gives you an idea of all of the games that we are going to see in this program and the other episodes. All of these games will have quirks of their own, and sometimes they're even better than the original. You can see on this one we can have infinitely long ladders, but unfortunately we only have a certain number of those that we can use, and a certain number of tasks as well. Next up we have Harry the Haddock, and this game is introduced with the theme from the TV show Baywatch. You can see on the title screen a number of things have already been ripped off, so let's check out the game itself. This is a very simple platformer, not unlike Robocod, and in this one we have to jump around the platforms and avoid all the enemies. You can hear a great theme in the background, Saturday Night. And this game plays a little bit like a public domain demo, which it probably was. The amazing sound effects are taken from other elements as well, even when we die.
Oh no!
This is Axels' Magic Hammer, and the music you can hear is by Ben Dalglish. going along with that rip-off title music, we also have rip-off gameplay, and apparently, checking this out on the Moby Games website, they claim that Axel is an anagram of Alex, and this is supposed to be an Alex Kidd rip-off on the Amiga. You can see those worms are actually from the Gremlin game Impossible, and maybe some other things you can spot have been ripped off as well. That apple you can see has definitely been ripped off of something, and maybe the clouds as well. So this is yet another public domain type effort which goes some way to replicate a platformer and a popular format on another system. But for my money, it's Impossible, and so if you liked Impossible, maybe you'll like this game as well. Next up, we get to Alien Bash 2, and Alien Bash 1 was enough of a rip-off. This one is a rip-off of the Chaos Engine, and we can also collect hostages as well, a little bit like Robocop 2, and we can destroy bases, a little bit like Gauntlet. They'll pour out of their home base, and you can blow that up for a bit more score. Still with the A's, this is Ambermoon, and this version of Ambermoon Arcade is not unlike a certain other game. Unfortunately, unlike that certain other game, which I'm sure you can guess by now, the controls are absolutely on the intolerable side, and you'll have to stand adjacent to something to jump over it, otherwise you're not going to make it. And this has some funky backgrounds and some better use of the OCS chipset than the other game, but it also contains some larger bosses, which is supposed to compensate for that. And I guess, yes, this is another public domain effort. At the end of the first level, he looked like he had an axe which was golden, and that looked a lot like Death Equals Adder, except we can walk straight through Death Equals Adder's legs. This game is actually a valiant attempt, but the gameplay stinks like many of these games, even though we do get some huge sprites. The best thing definitely is the music. This one is Atlantyda, and here we see some funky bottles which look like another game, and if that wasn't even a big enough clue, we also get a few more clues as well. So let's start up the game, and as you can see, this is another platformer, but it takes on a few of the elements gods. And unfortunately for me, I had to press the space bar or toggle the inventory, I think by holding down the fire button, moving top left and right, not quite sure, but this is definitely a rip-off of Gods because it is not, unfortunately, a fun game. Moving on to the B's, this is Banana Islands, and you may have noticed a rip-off sprite already. It rips off the music from several themes as well as objects from Fire and Ice and Rainbow Islands. Playing this on an unexpanded 1200, and on an expanded 1200 it runs just lots smoother. And so you can see it's struggling a little bit on the unexpanded A1200, and maybe even this is an AGA game, I'm not quite sure. Music rips off Inspector Gadget and lots of other themes, and I really do love the music.
Hit this load.
Next we move on to a TV ripoff where we find Beavis and Butthead, and if you thought this game was going to be another platformer, well, you're going to have to think again, because this is a cover of a Commodore 64 and otherwise 8-bit classic. Yes, if Jeff Minter is watching, then hopefully he can guess what this is a rip-off of, and it has some voice speech sound effects, and a dog, and a guy who's chasing us around. I'm not quite sure what holding that fire button does, because I don't think it does anything in the game. You'll also have to watch out for some bonus items, including some frogs that we can run over for some bonus score.
No. Here, Toady. Toady. That was not cool. No.
The levels are surprisingly difficult, and it's very easy to run into that water. With style, we also get another rip-off music extraduction on that high score table. If you thought that wasn't bad enough, then there is also Beavis and Butthead Dominoes, where we can play dominoes with either Beavis or Butthead.
Hey, Butthead.
Hey, Beavis.
It appears to be in a different language, but hopefully we can understand the game enough to play.
I hereby sentence the defendant to death by...
Let's burn it.
Next we have a 1997 creation called Burton Bird, and the thing with this game is if you hold down that fire button he gets angry, and this probably predates Angry Birds, but by getting angry we can then move our way towards our next target. As you would expect, Blob Kombat is a combat game where you play as the Blob character from the game Blob, and all you have to do is land on the opponent's head. Unfortunately, it's a two-player game, and I'm playing this in one-player mode, but you get the idea. Certain platforms move in different directions, and it would have been nice if there was a level construction kit with this as well. In Chronicles of Omega, we face something which looks ominously like the soldiers in Myth, and I guess if you were going to cover that same period of time, you'd have Trojan warriors running around with their headdresses, and maybe they're supposed to be Roman, but whatever they are, it reminds me of Myth, and, well, with coins and things like that, and even a shop, it reminds me of other games as well. Then we even get to face a praying mantis boss like a Pedia. First there was Conquest, and then there was Conquest Remix, and this is Conquest Remix that you can see right now. Not quite sure of the difference, but if we put some of our soldiers into the enemy camp, they will fight and take over that territory. And if you haven't already guessed, this is a rip-off of Megalomania, and this is certainly not going to be the last Sensible Software rip-off we'll see in this collection of videos.